Something that I get asked often is, should you buy the cheapest properties for your buy-to-let investments? Now, this is something that I do have experience in. It's something that I'm going to explain in this video, because if you get this wrong, you could find yourself in a lot of trouble. You could find yourself buying a bad investment. You can actually find that you're losing money because you've not taken the due care, you've not done the right due diligence. So I think it's very important that we discuss and we think about the type of properties that we're investing in, the type of properties that we're going to use for our buy-to-let investments. Now, when it comes to investing in property, when it comes to searching for properties, what I do myself, I categorise the area into different levels. So, for example, I know my area as well as anybody. I know the different areas, I know the different streets, I know the different types of houses. I know what demographic of people rent in certain areas. So what I do, I give this a scale from 1 to 5. So 1 being the very lowest areas, the cheapest areas. This is where you will find the lowest price property. This is where you'll find rundown properties. It's also an area where you'll find maybe a lot of crime or drugs or low quality tenants. I then scale this all the way up to 5, 5 being the really nice affluent areas with larger houses where a lot of people have good paying jobs, a lot of money. So my theory is I always tend to buy property in levels 2 or 3. Now, yes, you will be paying more money for the properties than if you were buying in level 1, because the properties that you will be buying in level 2 are good working class areas. You often find that they are good people, they have jobs, do look after the houses. They're also quite sought after locations within the rental market, because people don't want to be living in the level 1, as I call it, areas. Therefore, I've always gone for level 2 or level 3, and so far it has paid off, because not only have you got to think about the type of tenants that you're going to be bringing into your property, you've also got to think about the future. Now, is your property in an area that is easy to sell? If you needed to sell your property, would you be able to sell it pretty quickly? Would you be able to sell it for more than you bought it for? All of these things you have to factor in your decision when investing in property. So let me give you a couple of examples regarding prices. When I bought my first few properties, I could buy a property in my area for £65,000–70,000 for a 2-bed terraced house. However, I opted to avoid these type of properties to avoid the worst areas. So I brought in what I call level 2 and level 3 areas. And this did mean that I had to pay £10,000–20,000 more for the same type of property than if I had brought in the lowest level 1 areas. So my theory has always been, buy properties in sought after locations. It's okay to pay a bit more. It's okay to pay more for a property if it's in a better location. Don't forget that when a property is in a sought after location, you will achieve a greater rent. Yes, you will need a bigger deposit to put down. Yes, your monthly mortgage payments will be a little bit higher. However, your rental income will also be higher, and this will be reflective in the type of tenant that you get in your property. Now, all of the tenants that I have currently are all working class tenants. They don't cause any trouble. They don't cause me any mither. They all pay on time because I did my due diligence before getting these tenants in. I use a proper letting agent that knows the area as well as I do. My letting agent is a very good judge of character. They do all the relevant checks. They also do affordability checks. So there is a very, very high chance that this tenant is going to be a good one. Now, if I bought a property in the lowest level 1 areas, it's going to cause a lot of problems because 1, it's only going to attract the lower end tenant, tenants on benefits, tenants that are not working, tenants that are more likely to not look after your property. Also, it's going to attract tenants that come and go more frequently, which you don't want as a landlord. You want a long-standing tenant in your property. You want them to stay there as long as possible, pay on time every month. Whereas if you buy in these low level 1 areas, you're opening yourself up to a lot of issues, a lot of problems. Crime is a big one. Unsocial behaviour is another one in these kind of areas. Also, the fact that the type of tenant that you're going to get in the level 1 area are probably the type of tenants that really don't give a shit about you. If they decide they don't want to pay 1 month because they've gone and spent it on something else, then that's what they're probably likely going to do. So for me, I always avoid these level 1 areas. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, Jason, yeah, that is pretty obvious. I don't know why you're telling me this. However, you would not believe how many people get into property, how many landlords jump into property and they immediately go out and buy the cheapest properties that they can find without even thinking about any of this, without even considering what type of tenant is going to live here, what's the demographic of people in this street or this area. So I thought it'd be a good idea to put this quick video together just to get this point across, because It's not really something a lot of landlords talk about. And this thing with levels, it's just something that I've made up that I use for my own personal use. And I think that you should also. When investing in property, you want to avoid as many pitfalls as you can. You want to give yourself the best opportunity to earn an income from your property. You want to give yourself the best opportunity to nurture your investment over the future. And by this, you need a good tenant. You need a tenant that's going to look after your property. You need a tenant that's always going to pay on time. Now, another benefit to this is when you buy in a level 2 or level 3 area, and you are paying a little bit more for the properties, when house prices go up, say 10%, you're actually making more capital appreciation than the landlords that have gone and brought the cheapest, shittiest properties around. So if I bought a property of £100,000 and it went up 10%, I've made £10,000 in capital appreciation. Now if I bought a property for £60,000 and it goes up 10%, then I've only made £6,000. So after hearing all this, you're probably sitting there thinking, right, yes, I'm going to completely avoid all the cheapest areas. Now this is not necessarily exact science. I'm not saying that you have to go and avoid the cheapest areas. Sometimes you can find good deals in low areas, and it doesn't mean every tenant's going to be bad. You've just got to weigh up the options. You've just got to play the percentage game. Obviously, if you buy the cheapest, shittiest houses, then there's a higher percentage chance that you're going to get a bad tenant. Also, with lower level areas, you'll probably find that there's a pretty strict ceiling price on properties. So you could buy a really cheap rundown property, you could renovate it, do it up to a really nice standard, but that won't really count for much because the area, if the area is bad, people will want to live there, therefore they won't overpay on the properties. Whereas if you buy in a better area and you do a property up to a really, really good standard, then people are more willing to pay more for that property, to pay over the odds, because they can move into a house in a decent area that is already done to a high spec. I also find that a lot of people get caught out of buying in the wrong areas because, especially people that live outside of the area, maybe down south, and they decide to invest in properties up north, they will go and they'll search properties, find something that they think is a good deal, they think is a good house. However, they've got no knowledge or no understanding of that area or the street. So if you are in this situation, if you're one of these people, then just be very cautious when investing in the lowest priced properties. If you just go to Rightmove, search for a particular area, and then search for the lowest priced properties, take the first, the 10% lowest, this will probably give you a good idea of which streets, which areas are the worst to buy in. Even better, get talking, get to know people within that area who can then inform you. So for example, I source properties in the area that I live for investors because I know this area very, very well. I can immediately tell the investor if that property is in a good spot, a bad spot, if the street is a good place to live or not. Having this knowledge, having access to people like this is definitely going to benefit you going forward with your property investments. If you are looking for somebody to source you a property, just check my link in the description. Also, if you want to gain understanding and knowledge about buy to let and how to invest in property and build a portfolio, we do offer a property academy called J9 Property Academy. Again, the link is in the description, so please go and check that out. Also, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I will be sure to answer them all. And I hope you enjoyed this quick video and I'll catch you soon.